why waiting for the perfect deal is actually costing you money. Let's talk about that. Business acquisitions for first-time buyers, but also for experienced investors and people that buy assets. Let's discuss why a lot of folks believe that waiting long enough is going to kind of generate and produce a opportunity that is perfect, but in reality they're just lying to themselves and they're just fundamentally waiting for something that is never going to happen. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Marco Palmero, founder of Ulysses. Our company helps private equity groups, search funds, investors, and advisors in sourcing deals 1 to 100 millions. We do that globally so that people can spend more of their time closing good deals instead of finding them. And we do that through a multi-channel system, very sophisticated, that basically puts people in control of their pipeline instead of relying on third parties or kind of like wasting a lot of time, money, and effort in doing the sourcing themselves. So why is it that a lot of people believe that the perfect deal actually exists, and why waiting for it is ultimately costing you money? Well, the short answer is because there's no such thing as a perfect deal. People that have been in this industry long enough understand it, but sometimes even experienced investors try to wait for too long, thinking a better opportunity is going to come along. I think there's a little bit of a distinction into that, because there's a huge difference between the perfect opportunity and a deal that is better than the ones that you have already seen. But ultimately, there are a lot of folks that feel that when they start to buy their first company or second, third company, the business needs to be perfect. No business is perfect, really, almost like no human is perfect. And you need to accept that early on if you want to actually have a chance of closing one acquisition, because every single business, no matter how good it is and well run it is going to have flaws or elements to it that you're not necessarily happy about. And it always becomes a question of what are the flaws that you're willing to accept and what are the flaws that you aren't willing to accept, because that is going to determine how you filter your opportunities accordingly and how you create a system that can spot for kind of like deficiencies and ultimately filter through only the deals that check the boxes that you kind of like, that they're kind of like your non-negotiables. So I think I can make it a lot longer than it needs to be, but I think the main objective of this video is to convince you that there's no such thing as a perfect opportunity. And if you believe that, you're wasting money, because there are a lot of deals that you might have on your desk or that you might find in the next few months that are going to be excellent deals and that will be very good acquisitions for you, but you just decide to pass on them because they don't check all the boxes. And you ultimately end up regretting all these decisions. I mean, I've had quite a few conversations with people that kind of like had a very good deal in their hands. They decided to pass on it because it wasn't perfect. And the last 12 months of their search, they ended up finding deals that were much worse than that deal that they got at the beginning of the cycle. And so I see that happening time and time again. And I don't necessarily want you to be reckless about this process of filtering for opportunities, but I think it is important to define clearly what are some of the things that you are not willing to compromise with, and others that are like more like, yeah, they're gray areas, but they might be acceptable and they might be fixable once I acquire the business. So let's make some examples. There might be a profitability level that you're not willing to compromise with. So you want to buy companies that generate 20% profit margin, 30% profit margin. So everything that falls below that threshold is not going to be acceptable for you. On the flip side, there might be companies that generate and that kind of bring business in either through recurring revenue or one-time sales. And you might have a balance between these two revenue sources that is, 50-50. If it is 60-40, isn't it really going to change much in your economics? I mean, I don't know. You only know the answer based on the industry you're operating with. But that might be something that is easier for you to compromise with, instead of maybe a profitability level that can affect your ability to pay debt back if you're financing the deal, or simply affect your business negatively because you don't want to have a business that has tiny profit margins. So I think you need to create two buckets, and that's something that we do when we source deals with people or on behalf of people. We start with their thesis and then understand what are the things that are like deal breakers and what are the things that are not deal breakers, because that enables us to then build a filtering mechanism that when deals come in, filters them based on the non-negotiables, and then books appointments and kind of like schedules meetings and next level interactions with only the guys that check all these non-negotiables. All the others are like kind of like side issues that can be set aside provided all the other items are matched. And I think you need to do that for yourself also. So there are going to be two buckets. One of them is non-negotiable, the other is negotiables. And based on that, you can start filtering for opportunities. Again, a lot of folks don't do this, and they end up waiting and waiting and waiting for the perfect deal that ultimately never comes. Now, there's a difference between passing on a deal because you feel you can get better and waiting for the perfect opportunity. Now, what is the difference? Well, waiting for a better deal means that you understand that the market or your particular industry is in a position where you can ultimately go out and get something that is significantly better compared to the opportunity that you currently have. Now, better doesn't mean perfect. Better simply means in comparison to the deal that I currently have in my hand, I can find something that is significantly better, and that will make a huge difference for me in terms of economics, in terms of management, in terms of acquisition, complications that might happen after the business is acquired. So those are more like, again, a compromise, and there are items that are put into relation to the industry you're operating in, and they're not like absolute terms, so to speak. Instead, when you're looking for the perfect business, you're kind of like trying to find something that can really exist, because in absolute terms, there's no such thing as a perfect thing, as a perfect business, a perfect operation. And so a lot of folks constantly weasel out of opportunities that might be just good businesses for them, simply because they feel, oh, well, there's this tiny little thing that doesn't resonate with me, or the location isn't really where I want to be in, or yeah, it is 25% profit, but I would rather have 27%. And all these tiny details are eroding your pipeline and kind of like killing opportunities that might be excellent deals, simply because you're trying to find something that doesn't exist. So it is okay for you to have benchmarks that you can compare business against, and then decide that in that specific industry, there's a lot better than you can find, and you decide to pass on certain opportunities willingly because you know that industry can produce better opportunities. But it is a completely different thing to constantly wait for something that is absolutely ideal and your dream business, because honestly speaking, you're going to be waiting forever. I've seen people, some of them we worked with also, that were constantly saying, well, Marco, you're bringing me very good opportunities. I'm very satisfied with the work that you're doing. It's just that business doesn't sound right. There's this little thing that it doesn't look good to me. It doesn't look like the perfect business. I'd rather wait for another opportunity. Initially, I said to them, okay, no problem. We can look at more opportunities. But as this pattern keep repeating itself, it became evident to me that these guys were procrastinating, probably because they had a high level of uncertainty about their ability to deliver on the acquisition once they made the purchase. And so they were trying to find a perfect opportunity to solve for that insecurity, while in reality, they were just avoiding the issue altogether. The real problem was they were unwilling to take a risk on a business, and every single business, no matter how good it is, will require some level of risk when you go ahead and purchase it. And so if you're not prepared to accept that, then acquiring an asset is probably not a good fit for you, and you're trying to minimize a risk that is going to be intrinsic into the process. And so I saw that happening quite a lot of times. And to be fair, it is something that might be acceptable as you're getting acquainted with how the market works, and maybe you need to gain a little bit of knowledge about the industry you're targeting. But as you progress, you're going to be able to differentiate what are deal breakers and what are not deal breakers, and then be able to act quickly on an opportunity that is good enough for you to make money with and to transform into the acquisition that is going to change your life. And so that again is what I would like to get across, because as we work with people in sourcing deals on their behalf, I see this happening time and time again. People waste time because they feel they kind of like feel they are optimizing their process, but in reality they're just lying to themselves. Because it doesn't matter how good of an opportunity I bring to you, if you are looking for the perfect fit, you're going to be waiting forever. And there's going to be no system whatsoever that can find a perfect deal for you, because the problem isn't the system, the problem isn't the business, the problem is your mindset and kind of like how you're looking at deals and how you're looking at risk and the opportunity that you have in front of you. So you got to accept that there are going to be compromises that you need to make. And again, you might be more or less stringent with it. And that, again, it all comes down to you and the industry you're targeting. But what I want to get across is that perfect deals don't exist. There might be excellent deals, very good deals, profitable deals, discounted deals. All these sorts of things exist. But the perfect business, very unlikely to be there. And I mean, if some of you bought the perfect business, please comment below and let me know. I doubt that is going to be the case, because everything has something that, doesn't make the opportunity just a slam dunk. And even for slam dunks, again, there are some things that you need to work on to make the business better, and there might be things that you need to change. And so a lot of folks waste a lot of time, a lot of money waiting for the perfect opportunity, and they don't realize they're just diluting themselves, and they are basically trying to find something that doesn't exist. If you realize this and you understand this, then a whole world of possibilities open up, because you can start looking at businesses more objectively, understand what are the do's and don'ts, the deal breakers and non-deal breakers, and then act on the opportunities that are just solid enough for you to generate the result that you need. And we help people do exactly that. We build a pipeline that then can filter these targets based on their criteria, so they have a clear understanding of kind of like how opportunities rank with one another. And then they can make an accurate assessment of these opportunities and decide which ones they want to pull the trigger on based on, again, the deal breaker items or the non-deal breaker items that we selected together. And that is the key, right? That is going to increase the amount of opportunities that you can negotiate and close, and ultimately is going to create the results that you seek, which is a deal. So again, a lot of ways I can use to explain this, but the point is, there's no such thing as the perfect opportunity. If you want to build a pipeline of strong deals that match your criteria, then this is what we can help you with. You can check the links below, see what we do. Provided we have slots available to help you out, we'll do that. And I will see you in the next